clean, transparent, very effective. See, what government gives is only a seed. Can you multiply the seed? Can you demonstrate that multiplication is very key, right? That will automatically create value. Then international partners. Can you multiply the seed? Can you demonstrate that multiplication is very key, right? That will automatically create value. Then international partners. Can you multiply the seed? Can you demonstrate that multiplication is very key, right? That will automatically create value. Then international partners. Why will startups need international partners? Okay, to access overseas market, soft landing opportunities, either overseas market for selling, testing, trials, opening a new business venture, fundraising, international best practices adoption. Okay, then anything else? See, today, I mean, can you as an incubator connect one of your startups to a relevant startup somewhere abroad who's either behind or before in the value stream? Keep all these options, right? Or easiest thing to do is if you partner with the international university, right? Can those students abroad be interns for your startup who's here? Do a market dip study there. As low as that, there could be multiple engagements, right? What do international partners look for through the incubator? How can you add value to international partners? If there's an investor who's keen on India market, can you give him the good pipeline, what he's expecting? Can you showcase the right startups to him, right? Or it could be some students who are there in a university abroad who want to do an India market study. Can you organize a program? It's a win-win for you as well, right? See, a few weeks back, I met a bunch of students who were from Spain. They said they're coming to India as a part of their academic exercise to spend 1-2 months in India. Then I said, good, what are you going to do? They said they are spending 2 weeks in Agra. I said, very good. What is the problem you're trying to solve? They said, no, we are trying to spend time at Taj Mahal. Then I asked the student, what is the problem you've identified? Why are you coming to India? Then they said they want to refill all the car seats with cotton waste, which is more recyclable, more eco-friendly. Then I said, you should be going to Coimbatore. And I opened bang on Google, and in India Mart, there was one company in Coimbatore who was manufacturing a machine to make cotton waste out of cotton for 4 lakhs. See, many of the people from outside don't know what to look for in India. India is a black box for many of them, right? We are so varied, so diverse. So any opportunity, see how you can leverage so that somebody in your incubator, some startup in your incubator can get benefited, right? Of course, investors. Yeah, I think this quickly we'll touch upon. Now, startups come to you primarily because you have access to investors. Again, the same thing, right theses of the investors. I'm sure Prasad will touch more points in the investment there. Right theses, why are they interested in you? What is it you can offer? For your startups, for investors, there's a lot of value. Why will investors work with you? Apart from your pipeline of startups. All that coming because of pipeline, you're able to handhold. You can tell, in fact, many occasions I have told investors, you just help us in selecting the startups. We will handhold them, bring them to a stage. From there, you take them forward. All that is fine. Anything else? Absolutely. See, one is you can always say, I will put in my 10 lakhs initial Nidhi Prayas to help them build a prototype. You keep your radar on, they make progress, come back. That could be one. Or if you are able to give them very good testing grounds, if you are an incubator which is associated with, say, a hospital, right? Many of these investors have healthcare startups who may not have access to hospitals. Or you are an incubator who's working with some couple of banks. So can you open up test beds, trial beds for those? Everything works in life only if there's a win-win on both sides. How do you ensure that, right? Yeah, nation I'll come last. The next one is a TBI team, right? So what would the startups, through the TBI team, how do you add value to the startups? How should the TBI team, I think Gladys also spent a lot of time on the team, right? How should the team be to add value to startups? One primary, I would say, attribute of the team towards startups. Exactly, right? Because entrepreneurship is a very difficult, tough journey. None of us in the room have done it, or very few of us would have done it, right? Very easy to talk, very difficult to do, right? How many of your team members, you ensure that they are empathetic towards the entrepreneurs, understand their problem? First of every month, they have to cut checks, they have to pay salaries, they have to sustain. Day for yesterday, I met one startup who was running a company for 8 years. After 8 years, he shut shop. He had a revenue of about 1.5-2 crores. He said, I was not able to raise capital to scale. I could really see the pain, right? Empathy is the first thing. And do anything possible to help entrepreneurs. I think that should be the mantra to the team, right? Why should the team do all this? I have no answer so far. If anybody has an answer, please help me out. Why should the TBI, including the CEO and the team, why should they work for the success of the startup? See, at the incubator level, fine, but all of us are humans, right? For everybody, every individual, every manager, every CEO to stay motivated, continue performing, delivering on the ground with incubator every day to support startups. Why he or she should do? What is it I get at the end of the month? Yes, please. No, see, my question was, thank you, please be seated. See, my question was, if can we create mechanism where people get compensated? See, for example, incubator does well 10, 20 years down the line, you get an exit from the startup. That time, none of the team which gave all the support all these years would be there. So how can you translate this into specific incentives month on month, year on year? Yes, please. Thank you. Yeah, thank you all so much. Thank you.
Now we'll have a very interesting session that I was talking about on building a quality pipeline. And initially we thought that I'll have my team talk about building a quality mentor pipeline, industry pipeline, and funding pipeline. But we thought let's make it a bit moderated, where I can be a voice between our incubator partners and our team members and share both sides of the story. So can I have Yuvraj? Thanks, Yuvraj. Yuvraj is our director for innovation management, who heads the value partners, value partner desk, mentor desk, and as well as delivery of quite a few programs. Yuvraj, for the building a quality value partner pipeline, let's also talk about what's a value partner and building a quality mentor pipeline. And then we'll start taking a couple of questions and make it very interactive.
Thank you, Vijay. So most of the incubators, including T-Hub, would try to give our best to startups. However, due to various reasons, it would not be systematic. When you want to build a world-class incubation center like T-Hub, what we thought, building a systematic way of supporting startups is extremely important and critical. That's when we thought we'd build a vertical for stakeholder management. When you say stakeholder management, so we have mentors at one hand and service providers for the startup at another hand. So where we manage the desks by a dedicated person. So as we know, I can see most of your mentors already for the startups at one point or other. So with T-Hub, what we did, we used technology for creating a mentor desk. It's not just about listing a mentors and connecting them, but to create a process where end-to-end we utilize the service of the mentors effective way and capturing it, what kind of mentor sessions we are doing for startups. It can be one-on-one, one-to-many. It can be startup sitting in this particular building. Startups beyond T-Hub where we do a webinars through online. So when we run a flagship programs, each and every flagship program have a dedicated mentor for each and every startup, where we mix and match based on their experience and expectations of the startups and experience of the mentor. That's where we do at mentor desk. At this point of time, we have 250 plus mentors registered on T-Hub platform. So that is one side of the story. So other side, so startup need a lot of services. It can be credits, it can be a legal services, taxation services. So it can be a design thinking. So that's where you need a little more than mentoring, obviously. A dedicated support that's where we talk about value partner. We have 80 plus value partners starting from Google's AWS who are taxation consultants, GT, KPMG. So big brands as well as affordable where startups can avail these services. This is specifically where our stakeholder management, where we have built CRM tools. Using CRM tools, we have built dashboards for both the verticals where so we can capture the entire, at the end of the day, if you run an incubator, you need to look at outcomes. So you cannot randomly say that I have 250 mentors. What you have done with these 250 members is extremely important to capturing how many connects we made, how many hours they spent together, how many of them are one-to-one, how many of them are pro bono. So when it comes mentor, how do you capture it? Is it paid as free? So some of the mentors probably do it for free because so they've already earned enough money in their life. But however, some do it as a career. So you need to clearly identify them and make it remunerative for them so that startups as well as mentors would be happy. So I think that's a long question for a 1 minute answer. Okay, so we made a small presentation. I'll quickly run through it. These are the stages typically we do it. We start with a need. First we identify what is the need of a startup. Then we will list pool of mentors. Technically also we have mapped with some keywords. So based on keywords as well as our internal knowledge desk run by Zarina. So we'll identify the mentors. Then we engage with them both one-on-one as well as one-to-many. Then we take feedback from both mentor as well as startup. So we'll take a decision whether to engage them or disengage them. This is a process we follow. So these are different types of engagements we have for our mentors. So when you say community, for T-Hub community, both physically as well as virtually, we have flagship programs starting from so Blitz, pre-idea to prototype. Then we have rubrics, prototype to MVP. Then we have Lab 32 go-to-market program. And we have T-Angel where we help them to make them funding ready. So each and every stage startup require a different type of mentoring. So based on their requirement, we engage the mentors. So one-to-many and one-to-one both will engage. So what's in mentors? We incentivize mentors providing them various opportunities. So not only sometimes we pay for one-on-one mentoring also. This where we incentivize them. We make them part of corporate innovation programs where we utilize their services, where we are identifying problem statements or helping the corporates, connecting them to the startups. So this is the kind of dashboard we have built. So yes, come. So Jarina probably would take a minute or two to explain about how you are using technology to capture all these things. So this is where typically we do. This is only a snapshot of what we do. We have an in-depth CRM tool where we capture each and every outcome. Mentor-wise we do, startup-wise we do, how many one-to-one we have done, how many of them are pro bono, how many of them are paid. So end-to-end we have captured it. So it depends on what kind of topics we are covering, that also we capture. So this is what technology is extremely important, so using technologies helps us to capture the outcomes. Most of the incubation programs are state-run programs. You would get funded by Government of India or state. So you need to present them extremely important numbers. That's where probably technology would help you at a fingertip or a snapshot. So our mentors, they have a wide variety of backgrounds, governments, corporates, social sector. They themselves, some of them are entrepreneurs themselves, research and development organizations. So these are some of the examples where they are from. So we have testimonials from the startups who would say that how the mentorship helped them to navigate through their journey. So I think I would stop here. Of course, as I said, most of your mentors yourselves, we've seen startups firsthand. These are experience, so you would have your own experiences. So would love to happy and connect and see how in what best way collaborate, make it the mentor network better for the benefit of the startup ecosystem. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Vijay, thank you.
Thanks, Yuvraj. You be there. I think couple of important questions that we should dive deep on is how do mentors approach us? Like, what is the starting point, right? Or that's inbound. That's more inbound. How do we go out and approach our mentors that, hey, you are the right mentor, and we would like you to engage with our startups. How is that process happening? How many of you have this question? Yeah. Let's try and answer that. We can also call Zarina on the stage to toggle between Yuvraj and
Zarina is a girl who takes care of our mentor desk, who handles 250 plus startups as well as mentors as well as startups. Yes, Zarina, over to you.
Yes, so we get mentor leads both inbound and outbound, right? So more of how it works is whenever we have a startup and we don't have that particular mentor, we do our research, we pull in. We tap into our existing pool, we see how we can ask them for their network, and we can onboard those mentors, or we reach out to them on LinkedIn. We go to various other incubator networks as well and see whether that particular niche sector is available, that mentor is there with other ecosystem partners. Or inbound is more of, right, everybody wants to get associated with T-Hub, it's more like that, but we have a very critical selection criteria that is certain parameters, which is years of experience, their motivation to mentorship, their intent towards mentorship. It's not more of commercial, it's more of giving back to the ecosystem and things like these.
How are mentors compensated? I think that's a very important question, Zarina and Yuvraj. How do we compensate mentors? I would like one of you to just take that question.
Yeah. So certain programs we have budgets and certain engagements are paid, whereas more of this relates to giving back to the ecosystem, right? So we have other benefits that we offer to mentors, which is brand visibility on the mentor directory, which can be post-program advisory. That is, they can take up advisory roles on the board of startups. They can invest in startups and things like these, and co-learning opportunities between mentors. So that's more of it. I mean, that's between the startup and the mentor if they want to at a later
So
stage.
taking an equity between mentor and startup, we generally leave that discretion between both the parties that are engaging together. We kind of have very minimal interventions there. Zarina, how do we say no to a mentor?
So we don't say no to a mentor if he is qualified to be a mentor, and if the intent is to give back and help the startups, we just wait for the right opportunity. We maintain that good rapport with them and connect them to the startup when there is a need. So it's more of a need gap game than a get everybody and don't balance the demand supply.
Can we have Devi?
Yeah,
Hi,
hi.
Devi.
Good afternoon, everyone. I think I'm from the funding desk of T-Hub, and I think as Ms. Lakshmi ma'am has just mentioned, there are 3 M's that are very important to a startup. I'm proudly involved with one of the M's. And I think I will not steal the show from Prasad, so I'll keep it very precise in what I'm going to speak about and what we do here at Funding Desk. I'll just put it into 2 components, what we do and what's the value add for all the stakeholders, taking cue from what you have already built as a framework. Next. So predominantly three stakeholders that we deal with, which are the investors, be it angel investors to VCs, micro, macro, and startups, of course, who are the center of the entire ecosystem, and the funds, which we manage and which most of the incubators manage. These are just some metrics. You must have been seeing these metrics for quite some time today. So I divided the funding ecosystem into internal and external. Internal involving the funds internally that we manage, and external being the private investors and co-incubators or peer incubators that we collaborate with to get our startups funded. First stakeholders are startups. What's the value add startups get from funding? Needless to say, funding is a very important resource for any stage of startup to propel to all the plans that they have. So funding is definitely important, and what they lack in the journey of funding, amongst myriad things, importantly, they are short of telling their story effectively, which kind of can get them the buy-in from several stakeholders like investors or fund managers. So that's where we come in. We consult with the startups to understand their plans of funding and help them to identify the best routes of funding. This is the journey, pretty much how I think most of the incubators do. There is preparation in terms of the legal documentation, if all those are in place, the projections, if they make sense to the amount they're raising, the pitch deck readiness, storytelling readiness, and so on and so forth. The next important stakeholders are, of course, the investors. I think when, again, Ms. Lakshmi has asked, what is it that investors have from incubators? Why should they be collaborating with incubators? 2 gaps we identified among several others who have answered today. One is, of course, deal pipeline, needless to say, but they're also looking for a space analysis because the volume of startups that incubators see versus a pipeline of different kind of startups that come to individual VCs. I think they look at how we can analyze the space and understand the different trends in the space. So we do come up with a newsletter on different type of startups that we're seeing, say, in deep tech, what are the latest trends, and say in space tech, how it's trending, and so on and so forth. We do encourage them to do thought leadership events and master classes and so on and so forth to give the awareness to the startups to understand how their funding journey should be, when they should raise money, what would be appropriate amount, and so on and so forth. And we also do strategic partnerships with them in terms of helping their portfolio companies, because of course for the investors, their existing portfolio is the most important thing. And how do we help them? Again, with all the several arms that we have as an incubator, be it mentorship arm, be it the program arm, be it the value partners, be it the market access. Through all these, we also encourage the portfolio companies to join hands with us. This is again the same thing about how we help portfolio startups with market access and further fundraising as well. Now, the third stakeholders, of course, the funds who trust us and give the fund to us to manage. I think a lot of us here have funds which are specific to certain sector. T-Hub being more of an agnostic kind of incubator. We also manage certain funds. One is the Telangana State Fund, Startup India Seed Fund. We are managers in a few other funds. One thing that we stick to as a principle here is keep the process extremely streamlined and be compliant, because the startups don't, in very early stage at least, are not aware of all the investor communication they have to do, reporting that they have to do. But being like managers to certain government funds, I think it becomes our duty to kind of encourage them to be compliant and keep in view of the regulations from day one. It's a very good hygiene that we can teach the startups from day one and encourage all of them to be the same. And most of these funds also want us to be extremely compliant in investor updates. And I strongly believe that that journey starts from the incubator who is managing that fund. So that's, I know Zeel is looking at me, but thank you all. That's all I had today to say, I think. This is the process, and some of our star startups, we are always tempted to portray them. So from various funds, some of the events we have done, again, metrics, our favorite. But over to you guys. Any questions that I need to answer? And Vijay, you have any questions as well?
I have a question. Can startups outside of Hyderabad, can they raise funds through T-Hub? That is something that I would want you to talk about.
Sure. I mean, great question. I mean, we've always, since the beginning of the event, we talked about collaboration. So we would love for startups anywhere in India to approach us. You don't have to be only in T-Hub through a program or through funding desk or mentor desk. We have individual departments that can help. So yes, any startup across India can leverage on the funding that we can provide. And we also love to collaborate with other incubators. So since Prasad is here, we have looked at several of signed startups, and I'm sure we are sending a lot of our startups there as well. So I think because every incubator has their specialization in terms of their selection criteria or what value add they can exclusively add. And there's no shying away from saying that, hey, this incubator is rich in biosciences. You will definitely benefit from going there. Or, you know, we are good in helping you with series kind of fundraising. So definitely collaborate with us on that. So that kind of collaboration, I think, is a foundation to mutually help one another and help startups in turn.
And let's say, for example, I think a lot of us would have that question that if a startup, say in Madhya Pradesh, raises capital through T-Hub, is the incubator loses its affinity towards the startup? Or the question like, you know, is my startup or, you know, becomes a T-Hub startup or not? How do we sort that question? I think a lot of us have that question that, you know, how do we have that exchange of startups between incubators? Does something that come to your, you know, is there anything that you want to share on that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we've gone through stories where startups say, oh, I'm happy to come to your events and kind of attend sessions or so, but I want to be very careful in terms of marketing about me being a part of T-Hub. And when we dig in to see that why the inhibition is, it's really because they're not sure how that plays out. But most of the incubators, in fact, when we talk to them and say, hey, this is your startup, they came to us for, say, fundraising, we check in with them to see how they're doing. And because they know the startup better than we do because of the association for a longer duration. when we check with them, they're very open actually, and they say, I'm happy for the startup to be marketing that they're supported also by T-Hub. It doesn't matter. So I don't think the inhibition is from the incubators. It's mostly because the startup is not aware of this kind of collaboration.
Thanks, Devi. We have any questions around whatever we spoke about? Anybody wants to like to share any thought? Yes, Sagar.
So basically we are an incubator as well as an angel investment network, and I think we closely partner with T-Hub. What I would recommend actually incubators, those who are pure incubators, that please connect with angel networks or the VCs. And actually it's a very good collaboration to have. So just to add to the point what Devi mentioned, in fact, the angel networks are more than happy to take different kind of incubators because it helps them also to reach out to multiple communities actually.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks. Any other questions we have that we can get answered before we move? Yes, yes.
Not a formal program as such, but funding certainly. IKP, various incubators, startups have come forth for either funding or again for a program and so on.
We'll move on to the next segment, which is building industry pipeline. Thank you, Devi. Thank you so much. I'd like to invite Vishnu, my colleague Vishnu from the Corporate Innovation Desk, to talk about how do we build at T-Hub. What we believe is how we can collaborate with corporates and create a strong market access and corporate innovation for the corporates and a market access opportunity for startups. Vishnu.
I don't want to, first of all, I don't want to bore you to death with a presentation. It can be more conversational in nature. I'm a senior manager of corporate innovation at T-Hub. What does that essentially mean is, I keep interacting with corporates from India and from different parts of the world, understand what are they trying to do in terms of innovation, and see if T-Hub or for any incubator for that matter, to complement the journey. How do we do it? With the help of wide gamut of startups that we have. If this is not comfortable, I can use it. Am I audible? Cool. So this is nicely put by one of the professors called Henry William Cheshbro. What he tries to tell is, quote unquote, useful knowledge today is widely distributed, and no company, no matter how capable or big, can innovate effectively on its own. So it is extremely well summarized. So he tells about two things. We interchangeably use corporate innovation and then open innovation. I'll try to give a quick example of what both of those are. Corporate innovation is something a corporate does internally, innovate something internally using their R&D teams with hefty budgets that they have and the talent pool that they carry. So all the innovation that happens internally would be confined to those four walls. So innovation is kind of very confined and then restricted. On the other hand, open innovation is something you tap onto external networks of startups or various incubators like us, or industry bodies, and for that matter, even governments when you co-create something. The difference would be the later would get more access to talent pool, and they could possibly see something which they have not thought about in their last few years of existence. That is what he's trying to tell here. I just want to quick set the context and then move into maybe specifically corporate innovation and then what T-Hub does. How do we build our industry pipeline? On in a single line, how do I define this as from an incubator perspective? Corporate innovation helps us generate lion's share of our revenues to be self-sustained. Only solely running a startup programs or helping by startups by definition might not be a sustainable way of executing an incubator. That's why corporate innovation gives you lion's share of revenues. and what are some programs that we run at T-Hub from corporate innovation perspective. Corporates come to us because they always have this confusion of build versus buy. Should they build it internally because they have huge budgets, subject matter experts who charges them a bomb, good time, efforts, everything they would want. However, why do they have to reinvent the wheel when there is a startup who is already solving for them? Let's say I'm a HR tech business unit head. I have a problem in hiring. I'm taking 2 months to get a right candidate. How about I co-create something together with a HR tech startup who is already solving for it and then reducing the time to at least half of it? I'm saving a lot of time, money, and efforts. So at T-Hub, corporate innovation team acts as an interface between the corporates and then startups, and then reduce the time to market. Time to market is of greater essence. For me to quote an example, I'm sure most of us sitting here would have heard of Instagram. I mean, some of us might be using as well. So Instagram started as a social media platform, and then over a period of time, it has turned out to be a influencer marketing platform. Now it is a direct selling platform. All of this morphing has been done without our attention, considering market insights and then customer insights. So the half-life of a product is hardly 6 to 8 months now. Corporate can't wait on their R&D departments to get a product after 2 years and 3 years, which becomes either obsolete or completely irrelevant. So that's where incubator plays a sweet spot role to engage startups with the corporates. And moreover, I'm quoting an example from yesterday's conversation with one of the consulting firms I'm talking with. They wanted to build incubator muscle internally by themselves, which is a great idea. We want to complement it. However, as an incubator, we have not just access of startups, but we have wider access of ecosystem entirely. You might be finding a startup by Googling it and then doing basic diligence. But incubator's expertise would come in place in understanding what is the startup's journey, what is the founder's composition, is he good enough to face a corporate and build a product at scale. All of these nuances are extremely important for a corporate to engage with startup. However, at this juncture, from various corporate interactions that I've had, they think they can do everything internally. So we as incubators should be thought leaders and then tell them what is our expertise and why do they have to rely on incubators like us, not just by giving startups, but also delivering proof of concepts within lesser time, because half-life is extremely important for corporates. These are some of the pointers I wanted to cover. I can get into a lot of details in corporate innovation, but we can make it more conversational if you have specific questions around it.
Thanks, Vishnu. I think you had a PPT to run, but
I had. Personally, I don't like PPTs, so I spoke. I can still give this PPT for you to consume.
says a guy who who spends 80% of his time giving presentations to corporates. That why they should partner with T-Hub on corporate innovation. All right, Vishnu, why should what is your what is the biggest challenge you face when you pitch to any corporate, and how do you kind of help them understand that build versus buy, or is buy collaborating with an incubator is more important than not doing all the stuff in house?
Cool. This is a daily question with every interaction that I have with corporates. We can do it by ourselves. We have a great team. We have subject matter experts, all of that. However, they see all of this by sitting in closed door or glass walls. They see everything we have is enough and sufficient. So it is important for us to make them understand how did we solve these problems for his counterparts. Example, let's say we work with a tire manufacturer. We have solved some problem within 3 months for him by delivering a proof of concept by using a couple of startups. Imagine you go with a similar concept or tell him this is the impact that we have delivered, and then time to product is hardly 3 months. obviously it creates FOMO, fear of missing out, for another tire manufacturer. That is a good way of making him understand if his counterpart has got benefited out of some solution. I think he would at least wanted to explore, okay, I think it worked for example, Seat, it will work for MRF, so something like that. I mean, that is one way I tell them. You can't keep talking. Gyan is not something they would like. So you should always show some tangible outcomes. This is the time you're going to save. You need not have dedicated teams working on this, because as incubators, we should understand talking with corporates is not their business as usual. That is our business as usual. We talk with corporates, we talk with startups. That is our business as usual. We understand both the languages. Corporates, for all good reasons, they are bureaucratic. We should live with it. Startups, for all good reasons, they are more agile and they have more risk appetite. We should meet the middle ground. That's our role.
So inbound, we understand, okay, there's a lot of visitors who come in, there are a lot of corporates who show inbound interest. But what about outbound, Vishnu? What it takes for you to know, how do you identify who could be a right corporate? What is the right time to approach them, and how do you approach them?
So from T-Hub's perspective, around 50% of our clients would come inbound. They want to explore what do we do here. Like you all came here. Every day, my job is to keep talking to them. They want to understand what's happening in this big building. That is one way that we have. Second way, with the existing corporates that we have, we reach out to at least 5 to 10 counterparts. Like I was giving an example, tire manufacturer, you reach out to 9 other 10 or tire manufacturers. Tell them, what did you deliver? That's how you create that interest. It is a long process. Example, for a pharmacy company or a pharmaceutical company, personally, it took 2 years for me to convince them to get onboarded and then work with a startup. So that's how it is. There are clients who took 1 year, 1.5 years. But once they are onboarded, but make sure you keep giving them this flavor of startups now and then. It can't be always transactional in nature. Your startups would also need that face time. For a no-name startup, it is almost impossible to get 5 minutes or 10 minutes face time of a corporate. As incubators, it is our responsibility to do that. Followed by, you can always have business transactions over a period of time. That's why it is a longer process, but yeah.
Thanks, Vishnu. I'll open up for questions if anybody has any questions. Yes.
Thanks, Vishnu. This is Priyanka from CGLS Foundation. And
Hey,
taking
hi.
a cue from you, where you're talking about the value of giving the face time to the startups as well, and where you act as a conduit between the two. So in the background, what is a kind of, and this is probably a linkage to the previous session mentorship also as well. How do you really then prepare the startups so that they're prepared for the face time? And I think, and what's the frequency of it? How often? Because a proof of concept may hit the point. It's a trial and error basically. So what's the frequency when you know it's a sweet spot and when you retract basically? Thank you.
Cool. So if you ask me frequency, it is a need-based conversation. Apart from that, from T-Hub's perspective, every month we run an event called Innovation Dialogue. Meaning, let's say we have 10 retail customers. We get all of these retail clients, corporates, and then we get 10 good retail startups. Example, manufacturing could be a use case for them, retail guys, logistics, supply chain, etc. We get all 10, maybe creamy layer or a cherry pick, for them to have conversations with them one-on-one. That's how you make them understand what kind of startups you carry, and then for them to have business transactions over a period of time. Yeah, that's what we do.
Thanks, Vishnu, for touching upon that. Interestingly, folks, in the last 6 months, we have had 491 startups get connected with 93 corporates for any of the problems that they want to get solved, out of which 193 have been unique startups. And what that has translated into is that 10 POs, the purchase orders, have been issued, and many more conversations are on, NDAs have been signed already. So we kind of track this kind of engagement between startups and corporates. Also, you touched upon innovation dialogues. So we recently started that initiative where before 10 o'clock we invite, every morning before 10 o'clock we invite corporate leaders in different segments, HR tech, retail, prop tech, etc. And then invite the startups who are at a certain mature stage of maturity and kind of have a 10-minute interaction with each of the corporates there. So it solves multiple things there. One, the startups get a first hand of feedback or validation about the product that they're building. Two, if the corporate likes that product, they immediately get a second level meeting. So that's the whole idea of that particular meeting. Thank you. Thank you, Vishnu. Any other question that we can have it answered on building a quality pipeline for industry?
Maybe one or two examples on how you manage these conversations of IP.
So one thing I want to tell, this is another question we get. It is extremely case-to-case basis. There might be products where a corporate wanted, let's say, I'll take a vague example. Let's say I'm a startup who's building a phone, which is a rectangular in shape. A corporate comes and then tells Vishnu, you have already built a phone. Use same platform, same technology. Give me a circular phone now. So I have to use my existing technology IP and then build a product for him. It could be work for hire. I'll build a circular phone and then give it to him. This is one way. Second, I might be asked to build a completely different product, which might be a closest adjacency. Then IP might be belonging to a corporate. These are two usual scenarios. Apart from this, there are chances where corporate wanted to white label the startup's product. This is third. JVs could be done. Best case would be for startup, could be acquihire or acquisition completely. These are some of the forms. Not all of them, first two. Yeah.
Thanks, Vishnu. One quick last question, then we'll move on to the next one. Yes.
I do a very quick follow-up question. Is there any noticeable difference between, for example, say a product offering and a service offering in the approach? Like a proof of concept?
So it depends on, whether you're trying to ask a startup to build a technology product or a hardware product. If it is hardware product, of course, the life cycle would be much longer. But if it is a software product or technology-oriented product, I don't think we'll take more than 3 to 6 months to deliver a POC, proof of concept. Yeah.
Prasad, sir, for the felicitation, sir. See, I'm not missing it this time. Zarina? Guys, please clap. Vishnu? Thank you. I would like to invite Prasad to take.
Okay, guys, we are not going to take break because we are already running late. And then we are going to have a 6 o'clock Abhi session. So today I'm going to cover management of grant and seed funding. That's what is the topic which has been given to me. But having said that, before starting the slides, I also don't like slides, but of course we have to discuss in slides only so that people will be able to relate it. What I want to know is what kind of a challenges you people are facing when managing grants and seed funding. So that I can, the main purpose of having this session, one is having collaboration. Second is